Okay, so I just want to share a vision by Sarah Menet, 1979. I just want to share that vision because a lot of things that she has spoken of in her vision, I believe will soon come to pass. And it's only because of the winter that we are experiencing now. It's mid-February and it's snowing. It's snowing right now. And I do believe that this is the winter that she saw in her vision, before all the chaos and the mess that would hit America would come. So let me start off. I'm gonna skip down a bit. Let me see, where was I? Oops, sorry. So I think I'm going to talk about how she saw missiles. Okay, so right here above that, she saw missiles being sent, and she knew that it was going to be a nuclear war coming in the future, and this was how it started. And before all that happened, she was shown some tall buildings crashing to the earth with tremendous smoke. And she says that it was the buildings that fell down in 9/11, but I am not sure because I do know that there will be some buildings crashing down in the near future that we have not seen yet. So she could have been seeing 9/11, or she could have been seeing some buildings crashing in the near future. This is year 2025. And the reason I say that is that starting here, this paragraph or this section, she says, "The next thing that I felt more than I saw was that shortly after this, there was no commerce, no shopping, buying, and was impressed that there was no economy. The economy had almost failed completely, and no one had any money." So I know people believe that that is, she's describing 9/11, because after the trade centers fell, I guess a lot of people didn't have finances to buy anything, or the economy failed. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't feel that. Even though it happened, I was still working. We were still living. We were in California, and we didn't experience no buying, the economy stopping. We didn't experience that. I'm pretty sure others felt it in New York or in other areas that were closely tied into the trade centers, but we didn't experience that. So I do believe she's talking about future events that have not happened yet. And I do know that economy is going to go down pretty soon. So let me read. So she said that the economy had almost failed completely and no one had any money. The next thing I saw was people being sick and dying. I saw this particularly in 4 cities: New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Salt Lake. The disease started by having white blisters. Some, the size of dimes, appeared on their hands, arms, and face. This quickly developed into white puffy sores and blisters. People would stumble about and fall, and then many died within a short time, maybe 24 hours. I also saw other people with blood coming from their nose, mouth, eyes and ears. It started like a flu virus, and it spread very quickly, faster than the other white blister disease. The people who had this disease died even faster. This was more widespread across the entire United States. There were hundreds of thousands of people stricken with these two diseases. Now I want to stop right here and mention there's a guy with a YouTube channel. His channel is No Jesus, No Peace. And it's not spelled with N-O. No, it's K-N-O-W. Like when you know Jesus, you're going to know peace. So No Jesus, No Peace. He also did a video, and he compared a vision that he was given by God with Sarah Menet's vision. And in his vision, he saw the same thing that she saw with concerning the diseases happening in Australia. And I know that there's another YouTuber. He is Spanish speaking, and his channel, I think it's Profeta y Pastor Carlos Moran. And in his vision, God shows him, he speaks to him a lot about Central and South America. And in Venezuela, God showed him that Marburg is coming. It's like a bubonic plague type of disease. But he also was shown by God that the disease will start also in South and Central America. Joel Ogebe, God showed him that disease would start in central parts of Africa. And he also was shown that there would be a blackout in the UK or Europe. And during this blackout, the rise of the Apollo K or apocalypse killer virus would be brought forth. And just to get off a little on topic here, he mentioned that New York City was supposed to have a tsunami. While he was having this vision, he wasn't sure if they were related. They could be separate events, maybe a different year. I don't know, but he wasn't sure. He was thinking, is this what will cause the blackout in Europe? The tsunami wave that he saw, would this cause the blackout in Europe? Now, if this disease that he's talking about happens towards the end or mid of 2025, and if this blackout is caused by the water that the tsunami waves would run into New York, and also the opposite side of the wave hit Europe and cause a blackout. If this disease rises during the blackout and the blackout is caused by the water, then that means that New York could be hit with the tsunami this year. But please pray about this, because I'm not like good with timing like that. You know, I'm just collecting puzzle pieces that I hear others speak about. And if he's shown this puzzle piece of it happening during a blackout, which he did not say, he wasn't, when he was having the vision, he wasn't sure if it was connected. But if they are connected, if the blackout that the Apollo K rises up from is caused by tsunami waves, and that this tsunami wave hits New York, there's a possibility, if this disease happens in 2025, there's a possibility that the tsunami wave will happen in 2025. But please pray about that. Okay. And also I do know that Joe Brandt, he had a vision of Los Angeles or California having an earthquake. And in his vision, he was taken over into New York City. And he didn't see the earthquake happening in New York City, but he did see that it was flooded, that people were cleaning up the waters out of the New York City, I guess getting like a garbage can and getting the water out of New York City. So it could be that a flood happens in New York, and then earthquake happens in California, and New York is still flooded. I have no idea, but if the blackout is caused in Europe by this tsunami, then please, if the Lord is leading you to move, just be ready to move. Don't delay. He will give you the timing. He doesn't abandon you. He'll have his angels to deliver you like he did with Lot. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but I just put different words together, and I could be missing something. So, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. But he mentioned that a disease would rise up in Europe during a blackout. And so I do believe that even though Sarah Menet was shown United States and in Israel, that this is going to be something that is seen all over the world, because this is an event that's planned by wicked people, and the purpose of it is they want to create fear, and they want people to believe that the body is lacking certain nutritional elements that are needed to fight off these diseases. And that's when they're going to... Okay, so right here I had to edit my video a bit because I'm not allowed to speak about a thing that had certain things in it that happened 5 years ago. Today is 2025. So with that, I have decided to add other sources of entertainment to help supplement my video.
It turns out that scientists have been working with graphene oxide for a very long time, particularly in the context of micro and nano robots. These are basically tiny little machines, pieces of technology. They're invisible to the naked eye, you cannot see this, but these things can be implanted into the body either by injection, inhalation, or even through the gut. Now, they can be programmed to achieve certain effects. This can be on organs, on tissues, or even specific cells.
Die man einfach stellen muss, die man den Politikern stellt oder die man den Ärzten stellt, die Ärzte einem Konzern Pfizer stellen müsste. Warum sind da diese Rasierklingen drin? Und jetzt wollen sie die Kinder ab 5 Jahre zur Impfpflicht. Ich bin Aktivkohlespezialist. Ich habe zum weltgrößten Aktivkohlehersteller gegangen. Und ich war dann nach einem Jahr zuständig für New Carbon Product. Wir hatten neue Aktivkohleprodukte in unserem Portfolio. Wir hatten so eine kleine Firma in Hood-on-the-String zwischen Newcastle und Durham in England gekauft. Und ich war europaweit zuständig für New Carbon Product. Wenn du das ins Blut spritzt, dann weißt du, dass du ein Mörder bist. Das ist ein neues Material, die Toxikologen haben das nicht auf dem Schirm. Das ist ein neues Material, die Toxikologen haben das nicht auf dem Schirm. Auf einmal macht es Sinn, dass diese Opfer so aussehen. Ja, und dass Spitzensportler mit einem hohen Blutstrom, die kerngesund sind, auf einmal tot umfallen. Und man sieht halt die Menschen, die direkt nach der Impfung noch so auf dem Impfstuhl, im Ruheraum, wenn die da kollabieren und da zu analysieren, zu obduzieren, die finden nichts. Weil die ganzen Toxikologen machen ihre Tests in Petrischalen. Ja, die kommen aber nicht drauf, dass es solche Strukturen gibt, die die Blutgefäße zerschneiden. Du siehst Bilder, wo irgendwie das Blut irgendwie verstopft aus der Nase rausläuft. Die Menschen verbluten innerlich. Ich sag mal, gerade diese Spitzensportler, die tot umfallen, da fließt das Blut sehr schnell. Das heißt, je schneller das Blut fließt, desto stärker der Schaden dieser Rasierklinge.
Also, I had to speed up certain slides of my video because of time limits. So please pause the video when you need to. So she saw thousands of people stricken with these two diseases. And she says, I knew that the diseases, and there were several different kinds, but at first, primarily, these two came from small containers that had been brought into the United States. These containers were like quart jars, and I was impressed that the people carrying them would just drop them underground in large crowds of people, and the people would become infected without realizing it. So there's going to be a lot of different diseases happening at one time in the United States. In these cities, as the disease spread, the people tried to flee from the cities out to the countryside. There was complete chaos in these cities and a breakdown of normal society. There was no electricity in them either, but I don't know why or how that came to be. So that's very interesting. She's saying how during this chaotic time that there's no electricity. There's many speculations. There's people who believe that someone would set off an EMP with the submarines that are nearby our coastline over the United States. That's a possibility. Also, the sun is spewing out solar flares. So if there is a corona mass injection that is large enough, it can also wipe out the power grid. The power grid could go down because of a hack. It can be anything. But just know that this is a warning that many prophets of God are seeing, that God is showing many of his people, many of his prophets, that blackouts are coming. Where it comes from could be just one source or several different sources, but they're coming. And she's saying that she saw that there were cars piled up everywhere, blocking roadways, and most people then had to walk out with nothing. The disease started to spread beyond these initial cities. So for people who have smart cars or cars that are run by electricity, please be aware that when there is a blackout, there's going to be no electricity for your car to run, nothing to power your car. If there is an EMP that happens, the small electrical components in your car are going to be fried. They're not going to work. Your fuel injection system is not going to work. So even some gasoline-powered cars will not work. And she's saying that cars were piled everywhere, and people had to walk with their belongings. They couldn't take their belongings with them because their cars stopped working. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, and so it says, as these people were fleeing the cities, there were gangs attacking them and killing them. In the cities that were struck with the disease, there was complete chaos, looting, rioting, murdering, a complete breakdown. Many people seemed to go absolutely crazy. I sensed that the electricity had failed everywhere now, and that nothing was running. There was no communication or anything anywhere in the country. Nothing worked, no radios or TVs. I watched people throw rocks and break windows to steal TVs, which I thought was really crazy because they wouldn't work. Immediately as I watched this happen in the United States, I jumped back to the Middle East and saw the same thing in Israel, the same sores, and I realized that it was the same type of disease or sickness happening there. I knew somehow that whatever disease had been used in the United States were also being used in Israel. So I commented about that earlier, about the diseases happening worldwide. This is a worldwide thing. Okay. This lasted for only an instant, and I was back in the United States. There was a tremendously long winter that lasted into summer. And so I want to comment about this. So if this is a vision that she's seeing that's in chronological order, that means that these diseases are going to happen before the summer, because if it's this year, I know Zach from Outpouring Gates mentioned that the springtime disease is here. This is what the word of the Lord is that the springtime disease is here. If it's going to happen this year and it's here, that means that they're here because the summer isn't here, and that this winter that we are experiencing right now, this is the winter that she's speaking about. As I read further down, you'll see what I mean. But this is the winter that she's speaking about. Okay, there was a tremendously long winter that lasted into the summer. Okay, it caught everyone by surprise and started the full famine. Actually, I realized that the long winter actually just increased the famine greatly to its full measure, because the famine had already been in progress because of the storms, droughts, floods, and other plagues that had been happening over the few years leading up to the long winter. Now, like mentioned earlier, there's wicked people with a worldwide agenda. And yes, there's been floods and plagues and droughts and things that are happening that's causing a famine. But there's some people that are making it a man-made famine as well. And there's a pastor, I don't know how to say his last name, but he is a prophet of God. And he is Steve Cioccalanti. I think Cioccalanti. I don't know how to say his name, but it's spelled Cioccolanti. And he did a message concerning the famine, how there's like a shortage of coconuts, let's say. And so he knows a lot of people in the farming industry. And when he was talking about the shortage of coconuts with a friend of his, the lady tells him, Steve, there is no shortage. We have coconuts growing and they're falling off the trees everywhere. And they're just sitting there rotting because there's no one to ship them into the stores. And then she mentioned that some big banker or some guy with a lot of money came and bought all the shipping companies, the people who would normally ship the coconuts out. He bought these companies or these contracts, and then he just decided not to ship the coconuts. He just let them sit and rot. And so there's some guy buying up the contracts, and then once he buys those contracts, he would refuse to ship the food out. And so he was also causing or helping to create the famine by creating a man-made famine. And I'm pretty sure there's more of these who are planning these things. And the reason is they want food shortages. This long winter, this is just my speculation, but who's to say that these drones that we recently seen haven't been doing something into the sky, putting some kind of chemical in the skies to create a colder temperature. People who know chemistry, they know that if you put certain elements into the air, you can create a colder temperature. This is why they have ice packs where you can break it and the chemicals form together and it turns super cold. And so who knows if they're using drones or using some form of UFO technology to spray the sky with some chemical to cause extreme weather. This is just my speculation, by the way, but to cause extreme weather that creates a cold winter, a cold summer, a cold spring, so that farmers are not able to grow crops, so that they can have no food, and the food that they have been storing up, that these world people, I don't know if I'm able to say the name, but these people in high positions, they have been storing food in a place called Springfield Underground, and they're preparing for something, and they're storing the food while creating the shortages, so that way, when it comes down to it, they can tell people that, hey, if you want this food, if you want some government assistance, you're going to have to take this mark. You're going to have to take this poke, this jab. You're going to have to do this thing in order to buy and sell. Okay? So they are creating these things for sure. Someone is helping to create food shortages. And the weather, the extreme weather that they're saying that the cows are causing because they're farting and carbon emissions are going into the atmosphere, and the gas stoves and the gas-powered cars are causing emissions to create global warming and cause extreme weather and all this stuff, so that they can kill the cows or get rid of the cows and grow lab meats and get rid of gas-powered stoves so that they can have electrical stoves and whatever else they're planning, so that they can shut your power off with the flip of a switch. They're with their electrical government systems. These people, they know what they're doing. They're planning this because they're trying to create a one world system, before the return of Christ. Okay, so excuse me. So it says that it seemed that, and actually I'm going to cut it off short right here because I'm only allowed to do 30 minutes. I'll do a part 2. Okay, goodbye.